long-term relationships. I think
Long-term relationships.
I was telling you that, I had a friend that came over earlier today, and, he's been he's been in a relationship for a long time.
Right.
And he's been dealing with, I think a common problem that a lot of us have had if we've been in long-term relationships, which is how do you define how bad your problems are when you've been with someone for so long, right?
Right.
So think about like how if you've dated someone or been married for over a decade, sometimes like that ecosystem becomes so normal to you that like everything you deal with is your bad problems are extremely bad at the worst because
they're magnified for sure.
Yeah, because it's really all you've known, right?
Yeah.
Like you get so used to just thinking about your issues as like these are my problems and they're big.
Right.
Versus if you were living, I think, a single life, you go, oh well, really that's not that big at all because if you dated 10 other people,
yeah,
you'd go, wow, that guy or that girl is way worse.
Exactly. And I always like to think of it in terms of like family, right? Your mom, your dad, brothers or sisters, you love them no matter what. At some point you'll always like make up.
Yeah.
But the fights can get really bad. But you just, because you feel comfortable with them, you're a little bit more aggressive. You may just like let things fly off the mouth. And I think when you've been with someone for so long, you get super comfortable. And then the way that you argue is different than when like the first 6 months or the year of meeting them, which is you're giving your best self, right? Before you get married, you're like putting on your best self. But once this person ain't going nowhere, like we're together, the fights look differently. You might be more, can I curse on this?
Please,
you might be more of an asshole.
Yeah.
You might be more of a dick, like, and then things do get magnified, because you're like, well, I'm stuck with this person. And that mentality of just being like, I'm stuck with this person, it does, I feel, magnify. And let's not forget that we're dealing with lockdown right now and people are around each other way too much for long periods of time. They're not able to go with their friends and come back and have stories to share. And like, it's just different.
It's so true. And I think one of the commonalities that I've seen with people who've been in long-term relationships is that their problems are also like skewed because if you hear your friend's problem, you don't live it. So then you go, well, that doesn't seem that bad, but to them it seems really bad.
Right.
Whereas to us, if you go, okay, is what you're dealing with so bad in the spectrum of things that are actually bad or good?
Yeah.
And sometimes, like for this guy that I'm talking about, they've been together since they were kids. So their problems are the only ones they've ever known. There's no cross-reference. There's no, well, my ex-boyfriend, my ex-girlfriend, they used to be like this. So I'm thankful that you're like this. And I'm glad that you don't have those problems. And I can kind of see both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
Whereas if you've only been with one person for so long, you're only really seeing one side of the coin.
Exactly. And I do think like marriage in general is really rough, especially if you've been with the person since high school.
Yeah.
Or you have 15 years plus. I know that people say like, oh, there's a 7-year itch and then you get over it and it gets better. But I don't think marriage necessarily gets easier.
Yeah.
I just think it only gets easier for people that learn how to just accept people for who they are, like flaws and everything. Like, okay, cool. Like, what's the solution here? Yeah. Like, I know that I'm not always going to turn you on. I know that I may not always be like the person you like. I may like piss you off or get on your nerves. My meals that I cook may not be the best, speaking from a woman's perspective or a man's actually. There's just maybe days that you're just not attracted to that person for whatever reason. I don't think that those are deal breakers. I think that's just a part of life with being with the same person for, many years. Yeah. And there's going to be challenges. There's going to be temptations. There's going to be like, I'm sick of you moments. But then I feel like if you kind of hang past those moments that you get after being together for so long are like priceless.
Yeah, no, and that was actually the point that I made to him because it was, it's funny. Like I was in a long-term relationship, we broke up, and you start to realize that the things that you're giving up in the short term that seem super valuable are actually not in the long term. So in the moment, they seem like, oh no, I really want that person to be able to cook better, or I really want to be more attracted to them. And you think in the short term that means everything.
Right.
But then in the long term, you go, why did I give this person up because they couldn't cook chili?
It's like, yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like it's that we've and we all value things that are in our, in the moment, right?
And
like
then,
when we see things in the moment, we value them higher.
Right. And the looks thing, it's like you only have so much of a time span of like looking a certain way
Sure.
with good looks. I mean, I know that there's Botox and tons of things these days, but I don't really think you do need to be with someone that's going to be okay if you like gain a few pounds or, you know, God forbid you just get a wrinkle or two. Like,
Yeah.
if you're only being with someone because of their looks at some point, I mean,
Yeah, and I think
you're
that's
going to
the
have to
start.
just break up with them and
Yeah.
keep dating younger girls. I mean, and there's guys that
Yeah.
do this. So what am I to say? You know, some guys are like, hey, when she starts to get a certain age, I'm going to get a new model.
But you know what I think, again, and that's my point, is that in the short term, that seems like the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But when that person's 60, 70, and they go, okay, I got a new model, but like, yet that person doesn't love me for me, or, you know, you start to wish that you had the other person
Exactly.
that actually cared about you for you versus, okay, this person's beautiful. And, you know,
And also you have no gauge of inspiration. Like I look at my parents, you know, they fight like they're 17-year-olds still.
Yeah.
They've been married for 51 years.
Crazy,
right?
Yeah.
They sleep in different bedrooms. So I know people may judge that and whatever,
That's
but
the key.
for me, being married 16 years, I look at them and I'm like so inspired. I'm like, man, thank you, God, for giving me parents that are still together. I know that's like I'm the only friend out of all my friends whose parents are still together.
It's crazy, I know.
Out of everybody I know.
Yeah.
It's a blessing. So to me, I'm like, thank God for people like that because they're inspiring people like me
Yeah.
who, you know, and they've been through everything you can think of in a relationship. So
Yeah.
I feel like when you are turning in for these younger models or whatever, it might be cool and you might look cool, but you're not inspiring the people that are maybe going to lose their family or whatever off of some dumb shit.
No, I agree. And I think that those are the things that when your parents probably look back at their whole life, and even you and the, you know, and all their kids, it's like, it's not just the inspiration, but I think it's also the idea that the storyline that they get to have.
Yeah.
And the storyline that you guys get to have with them, because there's a common thread, right? There's a common storyline that never gets broken. And that becomes in and of itself pretty valuable. And I think when I look back at my relationship, it's like a person who's known me so well, like a person who's known me for so long, that there's some comfort in that, right? Versus if I had, you know, 5-year relationships, okay, each one of those people know me, but not to that level, not to that extent.
Right. And the love isn't as deep.
Yeah.
Because I do think if you've been with someone, let's just say they've cheated on you, they've abandoned you, you've broken up, or you were sick, or you lost, you know, there's things that broke you guys up, but then you come back, you stay together even through that. I think that kind of love is different.
It's a bonding, yeah. Yeah.
And it's deeper, and I think it's like, okay, you're not, this is beyond all that kind of love, you know, and I think that's really, really like hard to find and get. And if you can find that, like,
I agree. So what would be one thing if you were going to leave, like, say someone was watching this, so say it's like a younger version of Amy, and she's like, you know, in year 6, right? And you had to give her advice about, like, and she's on the fence of like, should I stay or should I go?
Should I stay or should I go now?
Right. And now you have to sing this to her, but you have to tell her what the real advice is. Like, what would you say to her?
I would say, Amy, buckle up, get ready for the ride, just hang on tight, and get as much help as you can from other couples who have been together longer than you. Get in therapy, get as much spiritual inside help as you can, and lastly, don't give up on your partner.
Yeah, I like that, because I would say the same thing, and I would modify mine by saying, understand the long-term value versus the short-term. All right, like in the short term, you may undervalue certain things, and you may overvalue certain things, but the long-term stuff that you may value will pretty much probably always be there. You know, if you love someone because they're funny and smart, if they lose their looks, they're still going to be probably funny and smart later on. Or if you love their personality, and
they
their
could
vibe,
always lose weight and know, get a facial or something.
Hey everybody, I'm Adam Khalil. Thank you so much for listening to this video. I definitely want you to subscribe to the channel if you want to hear more content like this. But if this content had any value to you, click the like button as well.